This episode of the Restoration Today podcast is sponsored by our friends at Restoration Brokers of America, the advisory firm exclusively focused on representing restoration company owners in premium exit transactions. If a sale is in your future, preparation drives value. Download the Elite Exit Blueprint at rbacells.com. Again, you can download the Elite Exit Blueprint at rbacells.com. Hey, restorers, welcome to a fresh episode of the Restoration Today podcast. I'm very excited to have some new friends with me that I had the opportunity to meet at Interconnect in Washington, D.C. in January. It is Complitrac. It is Austin and Jason. They are a dynamic father-son duo that are working on helping restorers overcome your SLA compliance and visibility issues. That is a huge problem in the industry, especially, we just went through this period, 18 to 24 months where claim volume was down, and there were questions of like, are you leaning more into TPAs? What are you doing with your TPA work? Are you being as efficient as possible? Making sure you don't get kicked off TPAs when you really, really need the volume coming out of the TPA world. So, and then also people talk about all the time, if you have the level of compliance that is required by a TPA, you can do any work that's out there. So, this is like top level compliance and you should be golden and good to go for anything. So I'm going to stop talking now. Jason and Austin, thank you so much for being here. So, Jason, I'm going to toss it over to you to introduce yourself first.
Sure. Great to have you today and be on your podcast. I'm super excited to be here. I'm Jason McLaughlin, so I'm the CEO of Complitrac. We started Complitrac a year ago to meet these visibility kind of shadows of compliance in the restoration industry. I've been a 30-year IT veteran, some of the biggest companies in the world doing operations and infrastructure and merger and acquisitions. And about 4 years ago, I started a managed service company directly focused on restoration contractors and general contractors and specifically meeting their technology needs. So as part of that, I was, of course, Austin has a company to both of those categories, and I provide services for him. And he reached out to me about a year ago, almost a year to the date, a year and a couple weeks, and said, "Dad, I really am struggling with some compliance issues and visibility in SLAs and tracking SLAs, and I need some help. So could you help me find a tool or a device or something that could help me with those types of challenges?" And I said, "Let me look." And I looked really, really hard, and I looked in different industries and different verticals, and thought about, could we customize a tool or something? And there wasn't anything out there for what we do. So we kind of said, all right, let's see if we could build something custom for exactly what you're asking. And Complitrac was born February 17th of last year. So that's kind of our history and where we started and how we got to be. I can't wait for Austin to tell you all about why his idea came to fruition, but he drew it on a whiteboard and we built it from there.
Drew it on a whiteboard. The technology dad and the contractor son, and whiteboard to technology. I love it. All right, Austin, your turn. Go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background in the industry.
Absolutely. Yep. So I'm Austin McLaughlin. I've been in the construction industry for about 12 years, primarily in the commercial GC side, but a lot of still insurance claims, a lot of large restoration, mitigation stuff, rebuild. About a year and a half ago, I transitioned full time over to the restoration space with the same ownership group that I've worked for the past 6 years. And I just immersed myself in it. And we were pretty heavy in the TPA space, and wanted to figure out how to leverage that, how to get more work, how to be more competitive in the market space around the TPA work. Excuse me, because it was that kind of, hey, guaranteed work ish, or low cost to obtain the work. And we weren't doing great with our SLAs. We weren't doing bad, but even the systems we were using with our project management softwares and such, they weren't great for giving us real-time visibility, real-time data, and enabling us to make really good decisions. And I come from a very operational background, helping build operations and organizations to work more efficient. And so, like my dad said, I called him in one day and said, "Hey, I'm looking for a tool. This is what I'm looking for." And I drew it on a whiteboard, and he spent a few weeks looking for it. And then he was like, "Man, we should just build this." And so a couple more whiteboard sessions, and about 10 months later, we had a product that we deemed viable to bring to the market. We launched just about 8 weeks ago, January 5th. And we've had some good adoption thus far, had some really great conversations, and looking to get ourselves out there into the marketplace and help people understand the benefits and the ROI and the things that they get, and not think about SLA compliance as just this thing that TPAs and carriers put on you because they want it, right? There is a ton of value in SLAs, and I think once contractors understand that and lean into that and understand that there's amazing technology out there that can really help them thrive in it, their revenue will increase, their operational efficiency will increase, their admin will be less stressed. They'll have data in real time to make good decisions instead of reactive decisions after things have already happened. And that's really the goal of Complitrac.
Love it. Okay, so Jason, I'm curious, when Austin came to you, and it sounds like you took a few weeks and were kind of looking for a tool, you've worked in spaces that have probably far more robust technology than the restoration industry does. We've always kind of been known for being a little behind the eight ball when it comes to technology. So I'm curious what your view was when you were looking around and trying to figure out, is there a tool that exists? What was your view as you were looking at technology in restoration, and what in addition to this, kind of what opportunities did you see as you were looking around?
Yeah, so the first observation was there's I'll just call them CRM tools. Some in the industries call them ERP tools, CRM tools, similar thing, but how you run your business, how
Mhm.
you service your customers, how you go from job, creation through closure all the way to invoicing revenue and understanding that life cycle. Um, my immediate observation of that was they're kind of uh old school, let's just say.
Yeah.
They haven't adopted a lot of the really great new cool capabilities, from development capabilities to integrating, like, a lot of API type access where you can get data from different places. But then there were some companies that seemed like that they were trying to get to that, but because they're so old, let's just call it legacy technology, it's hard to steer that ship. So my experience told me, hey, those guys are going to try and get there, but you carry a lot of weight with you when you do that, and sometimes you miss the target. Okay, so, and we've heard examples of that in some cases of some of the really big players where they try and meet what the customer really
Mhm.
wants, get 30% of it, but it was hard to get to that point. So we wanted to create kind of a technology that was very modern, that had all of the cool new features and capabilities, that also is easy to innovate with and to change and update. So um, our platform is built on technology that is very simple to innovate and update rapidly. So one of the other kind of observations was, we have the CRM tool, and then we have all the external ancillary plugin tools, from each set of the life cycle, from estimating to, the first notice of loss, of course, but
Mhm.
then you get into estimating, then you get into the documentation, and then you get into the financial piece and the invoicing piece. And all of those seem like they were also bolt-on technologies, at least the best technologies were bolt-on technologies. So we also purposefully decided, as part of our um, journey and creation of our tools, just how can we start to aggregate some of those things, and we call it kind of an information hub or a job hub, where now, instead of people saying, oh my gosh, I have all these tools where I got 28 tabs open on my thing, I've got 9 TPAs open, I got 7 other tools open. We wanted to kind of find a way to aggregate all of those to where within one tool, or at least a couple, you could kind of just bounce out specific to the job you're working on, not to the tool you're using, right? But specifically to the job you're working on, and get to the tool you need to for that job, and be as efficient as possible within the actual interface that we develop. So we tried to think of the legacy baggage and a new way forward into creating a better future for the people that are in the tools all day long.
Perfect. Okay.
Yep.
So thank you. Thank you for that. So, Austin, I'm going to throw you a Restoration 101 question here before we dive a little bit deeper because, our industry loves acronyms. So, you talked about first notice of loss. So, FNOL, there's SLAs, there's the IICRC, the RIA, the blah, blah, blah. There are acronyms for everything. So, talk about what SLAs are. And then what are some of the key components within an SLA for people that maybe aren't as familiar, might be new to the industry, might be listening and maybe don't do TPA work, so they're not as familiar.
Absolutely. So SLA, service level agreement, they're heavy in the TPA space, and basically it's the carriers when they sign a master service agreement or a large contract with a TPA or a DRP, which is a direct repair program with this a franchise program or a large national entity. It's basically them saying, hey, these are the requirements that I want you to meet for this job that we're going to give you. So if they give you an assignment and they say, hey, I'm going to give you this assignment, I need you to let me know you're on it within 15 minutes. I need you to be in contact with that insured within 30 minutes. You need to have a team on site within 2 hours. Once mitigation is complete and you mark it done, I need an estimate within 24 hours. If we reject it, I need it revised within 24 hours. So those are SLAs. They're timeframes that are put on you. A lot of the TPAs then have scorecards or scoring that they score you on, which determines how much volume you're going to get. So SLAs are really important, and you don't necessarily have to only think about them as standards that carriers set on you. We've talked with lots of contractors that don't necessarily do TPA work, but are using our platform because they have their standards, right? Hey, we want to provide excellent customer service. So if somebody calls in and says, hey, my house is flooding, I want my team creating this job in our system and getting it dispatched within 15 minutes. I want my guys on site within 90 minutes. I want to have an updated scope in our system within 8 hours. Those are the types of things that contractors are setting on their teams internally that are by way an SLA.
Yep.
They're not, a contract that's put on you by a TPA or a carrier, but they're even more important when they're those because they're controlling the volume of work that flows into you. So that's kind of the short and sweet on an SLA.
Perfect. Okay, so talk about your system then. When it's integrated into a company, how does that check mark kind of work? Is it checking boxes? Is it sending notifications? Is it letting people know when stuff's behind? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's really about automating a lot of those things, right? So the second you get an FNOL, it populates in our system and automatically starts all of those timers for you. So you're not having to go in and set it up and then backdate anything to the time when it was received. It's all automated in the beginning. And then it's just reminders, right? So you have a clear visible clock for each SLA ticking down right in front of you. You know exactly when each task needs to be completed by based on what the TPA or the carrier wants. You still got to go in and say you completed those things, right? Like there's no way for us to know, hey, did you contact them? Did you get a hold of them? Did you leave them a voicemail? Did you send them a text? You still have to complete those tasks. But having that clear visibility and then time stamping those with who completed it, when they completed it, how it was completed, depending on what type of task it is all tracked extremely visibly and then flows into our real-time reporting tool, which will tell you how each team member is performing, how your company is performing. And we have our reporting is extremely robust. So you can get 6 different phases of a life cycle based on an emergency claim versus a recon claim versus is it a board up or an estimate only? Because you do have SLAs for all of these. They're not all scored by TPA, but the better you perform, the more work you're going to get, right? And so our system really creates clarity in that. And then all of those alerts are the automation piece of it escalates internally. So if you have a 2 hour to get on site and you know that it's been assigned to Tommy, who's the technician to get on site, our system's going to tell you he's 42 minutes away. He has an hour and 10 minutes to get on site. He needs to leave within 25 minutes. That's all automated for you. If he doesn't leave within and mark that he's en route within that time, it's going to notify him. And if you so choose, it will notify the general manager, the mitigation manager. It could notify the owner. And that's all automated. So nobody's having to be like, oh, hey, boss, Tommy was wrapping up this and he's going to be late. You're going to know automatically without any burden going on your team or somebody forgetting. And then for contact insured is one of my favorite ones that I think do really well. A lot of times you'll get an assignment, you'll call that insured, they don't answer. you leave them a voicemail, that satisfies the SLA, right? You contacted them, you left them a voicemail, you've been assigned their claim, and give me a call back. Our system automates reminders to you every 5 minutes, 10 minutes to say, you haven't gotten a hold of this person and you have 2 hours to be on site. So if you want to meet that 2 hour on site, keep calling these people, because you know how it is. You get another assignment, somebody comes in and says, I need an
Yep.
invoice. Somebody comes in and says they need something, you forget, and then 45 minutes go by and then you're like, oh, I need to call them again. And now you've missed the opportunity to get on site. So automating those things and escalating those alerts really creates simplicity for your admin staff and your team to just know that, hey, I'm going to get the information I need before I need it, to make sure that I can meet the service level agreements that I have, whether it's with the TPA or a carrier directly, or just what your boss wants you to do, right? What the owner of the company expects of you in this very fast-paced speed, or no matter what you're doing in restoration, speed is kind of the most important thing, right? How fast can you get my house dry? How fast can you get the water turned off? How fast can you get it rebuilt? So our system does that really, really well and automated.
Perfect. Okay, so Jason, I'm kind of curious on all of this. We were talking about technology and restoration in general, and one of the biggest things that happens in restoration is a new piece of technology comes around and restorers are like, I cannot fathom adopting another thing, or how do I get my people on board, or how do I implement this? And you've been in the software space, it sounds like your whole career. So what kind of advice do you give companies that are like, this sounds amazing, I need to move forward with something like this, but I don't know how to get buy-in from my team. I don't even know where to start. How do I implement this? How do I make sure that it does everything that it wants? This feels like a big lift and I don't know where to start, and I don't want to buy something and then my team not adopt it and use it.
Yeah, we've heard that.
I'm
You
sure.
can imagine, as you can imagine. So the way that we kind of address it, and with the customers that we've signed up just in this short time that we've kind of been gone to market here in the last 2 months or so, is that, hey, let us show you how it works, because the key is in the usability of the product. So a lot of the guys say, hey, I got this cool new tool, but first I got to train up on it. Second, it changes my workflow that I've done for years. So it's new. So it's different and hard, and I don't like new. But when we show them, like kind of what Austin was saying, there's a struggle. There's a persistent struggle in the restoration industry directly related to what our problem, or what our software solves. And so when we start to show them the first thing of our software, they can see how we answer all of those pain points and all of those struggle bus points, right? So the idea is that when we show them the product, first off, we can show them and say, hey, this is how easy it is to create a job and acknowledge and accept a job. Now your job's on autopilot. So instead of first doing that yourself and then maybe pivoting to a spreadsheet or a whiteboard or something else, you now just have it all there. It's already done. There's no more extra work. Okay, great. People start smiling at that first kind of acknowledgement. Then when we get to this kind of thing about, hey, now you have reminders and alerts, there's no more, hey, what's the status? What's the status? It's just look at the dashboard and you instantly know the status. And then you also know, is the status in a good place or a bad place, or is it trending to a missed SLA? Now you have immediate visibility for action. So then you get the second smile where you're like, okay, this would help us day to day. So it kind of minimizes that burden of, this is a new tool that's hard or different from what we already do. It's a new tool that simplifies and improves what we're struggling with. So as we work through each of those SLA components, that's the kind of the feedback that we get. Um, Now, how do we actually get people to say, hey, I want to try this, or I want this, or I need this? We've developed some ROI tools. And so from a business owner perspective, as your scores increase, so does your job assignments, and that turns
Mhm.
into revenue. And so it's really simple to say, hey, not only are we helping the coordinators, the project managers, the estimators, and the technicians, um, with their things that they struggle with, we're now helping that business owner make really important actionable insights into, hey, how do I prepare my business for success or growth, right? So the idea is that we're able to give them a strong ROI, our I don't know. She's froze up on. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you. You're both frozen
Okay.
on me too.
Yeah, I'm frozen. But we give a strong ROI about like the product almost pays for itself. You know, if you do one more job per month, the product is absolutely free. We have ROIs in thousands of percents. So that's pretty cool. But then also we have that kind of soft HR savings of, hey, not only are your project coordinators able to do more, but you can also now scale up more. So we
Yeah,
kind of show them two different angles. There's a staff benefit perspective, there's a financial benefit perspective, and and that kind of seems like it eliminates a lot of that tension around another tool or doing something different. And so that's kind of how we try and tackle that question.
perfect. Awesome. I don't know what's going on with the video, but we're gonna keep going because we can hear each other. So hey.
Right.
Um
Yeah.
that's right. Okay, so Austin, talk a little bit about how this has helped specifically in your restoration company. I would love maybe like an actual story of we started using this and this helped with X issue, or we have this job come in and it helped us avert a crisis here, or whatever, some kind of story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest one that stands out, is like I said, we were heavy in the TPA game. About 50% of our annual revenue came from TPAs, which was great, right? And but we wanted to grow still, and
Yeah.
we were spending money on external marketing and getting external work, and still wanted the TPA, and we wanted them kind of to both grow at the same time. And when I came up with this idea, that was primarily around getting in SLA compliance so we get more work from the TPAs so we can get on more TPAs. And when we get on those TPAs, we're not starting in a hole and digging our way out. We're starting at the top, right? And so when we implemented this tool in the beta stages of when we were developing it, we immediately started getting on the quarterly newsletters of certain TPAs. We immediately started seeing certain scores go way up on other TPAs, and stopped getting the emails of, this estimate needs to be done in 24 hours the second you
Yeah.
get an assignment, right? And so I know that burden came off of the TPAs. So again, there's speculation on how assignments go out. There's speculation on if they're actually
Hmm.
based on a scorecard or who gets them or how they get them. And I don't think any contractor specifically knows that for each individual TPA. But I noticed that we had a tick up, a consistent tick up in assignment volume. We stopped getting as many reminder emails from them, which probably was less burden on their staff, which made their staff happier. So maybe that led to the assignment increase, right? And it really goes back to the relationships and partnerships that are what make this industry what it is and how amazing it is. And whether you're in a partnership directly with a carrier or with a TPA, it is a partnership. It is a relationship, and you want to be an advocate for them so that they can advocate for you. And I promise you, when you're crushing your SLAs, it allows them to go to their carrier partners and say, hey, this market's killing it, send us more work. And you're a factor in that. That leads to more assignment volume coming to you. That leads to their ability to have more trust and faith in you. And a lot of that comes down to the technology and tools that you adopt. But specifically with my company, we had 3 coordinators solely for TPA work, and we ended up going down to 1. Once we implemented Complitrac, about 60 days later, we transitioned all the work to 1, and we moved the other 2 over into different roles. And one went to a project manager from an assistant project manager. One went from a coordinator to a business development girl, and the other one locked in and was able to just run all of the TPA volume that we were doing by herself using this one tool, because everything going out to the team was automated. Everything was visible by me as the person running the business, and each manager of each division, whether it was contents or water mit, or recon, or our environmental team with mold and asbestos. A lot of that stuff was automated, visible to everybody, and everybody knew exactly where the job was, how it stood, and it was one person could handle it and some, right? So we were able to kind of realize some real overhead value immediately. But just sanity in the office, like coordinators weren't on the phones as much trying to get a hold of people, because it was real simple to understand who's been gotten a hold of, who hasn't, who's been dispatched, where are they, what's due next. All really clear on one dashboard. And even my team, as the person that created the idea behind the product, they even were like, man, another tool, another thing I have to log into. And then, similar to the customers that we have using it now, once your team understands how to use it and you kind of have that champion in the office, everybody kind of like the temperature comes down a little bit. Everybody knows where they're going to get the specific information they need for what tasks they need to be doing right now that they know directly affects the bottom line of the company. And that's something that wasn't out there in real clear, plain, simple form for even a technician to understand, right? And so, that's a cool story about my company. And the question you asked last to my dad, I kind of want to touch on because, when I was on the GC side, we went through multiple software product changes for our project CRM tool. And it was terrible trying to get customer support, trying to understand how, the product was going to work for our business, because every single business operates differently. And that was a big piece for me that I wanted when we created this company. And we've already gotten some really great feedback from customers from that, is I want to over support, whether it's from training to onboarding to weekly webinars to different things for teams to come in and understand exactly the updates we're making and how they can best utilize the product, and tips and tricks, and bringing their ideas. I mean, we're making product updates about every other week with ideas that our customers are bringing to us to say, hey, if it did this, it'd be even better. All right, let's talk to a few other customers. All right, everybody agrees. All right, let's implement it. But our team is there in real time. We had a customer during this last storm that rolled through Dallas that got like 29 jobs in a day. And she's by herself, and she's new to Complitrac, and she's like, I don't know what to do. Our team jumped in and helped her filter through all of them, get them all loaded, get them all assigned to the right people. And then she was just able to run those 30 jobs on autopilot to her team, and they understood what needed to be done and when and how. And so there's a ton of benefit on the customer support side that was really important to me, in making sure that we're helping our customers adopt the product, utilize the product, understand the best way to use it. And then it's very, very, very user friendly. So that was kind of a really important thing to me as well.
I love it. Those are great stories. Perfect. Thank you for those. Okay, so I think both of you can probably answer this question a little bit, but Austin, maybe I'll toss it to you first. You were talking about how well you serve your customers, but the TPAs, the carriers, and the contractors are all serving the policyholder at the end of the day. So how can technology like this and being good with your SLAs and compliant and all of those things at the end of the day actually help better serve the customer, the policyholder?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's all about communication, right?
Mhm.
No matter what relationship you're working in, if the TPAs want you to, all the TPAs want is communication. All the carriers want is communication. All the customers want is communication. If you have a tool that lets your team know what your communication expectations are, when you want them done, whether it's you setting those expectations, the carrier setting those expectations, of the TPA, you have expectations to all three of them. If you're working with TPAs, you have expectations to all three. So making it very clear and having those simple reminders for your team of when things need to be done, and having the visibility in real time for what team members are completing those tasks and not, it really allows your team to hold themselves accountable, and you to hold them accountable. And a lot of them, including my team, has turned it into a game, right? They're fighting over decimal points of percentages for who is more compliant within their specific tasks that they're assigned within Complitrac. And there is that competitiveness in the industry as well. And so at the end of the day, you're serving the policyholder, you're serving the customer, and the customer wants speed and communication. That's all they want, right? Their house is in shambles, their lives are uprooted, and they want to be communicated with, and they want things done as quickly as can. Of course, they want them done correct. They want them done professionally. They want to make sure that their carrier has everything they need, so they're coming out of pocket as few as possible, right? It's the deductible, let's get this thing done as quickly as possible. And having tools that give you real-time clarity into the cycle time, into the duration of the job, are really, really beneficial to the customer, because it allows you to communicate with them where you're at. In our main SLAs, one area that I think the entire industry falls a little short in is communicating with their customer on the estimating process. So if you're doing a recon assignment, you don't start that assignment until you have an approved scope. If you're working with the TPA, you could go through 3, 4, 5, 6 resubmits and revisions, right? So having that reminder and understanding exactly, hey, I submitted this 8 days ago, I'm on my 4th resubmit, and you're constantly communicating with the customer, hey, I want to give you an update. we're still resubmitting estimates back and forth with your carrier to get them approved so that we have a clear scope before we move forward. That's all the customer wants, right? Whereas if they're just in the dark for 10 days, they're going, man, what are these people doing? My house it needs to be put back together. I'm in a hotel, my stuff's in a storage unit, right?
Yep.
And so having the clarity of have you followed up, where are you at in the estimate approval process, where are you at in the mitigation process, how long is your dry times on average, right? Those are all things customers ask. And I know, I just read an article on LinkedIn yesterday that was like, the average dry time is 3 days. We all know that that's not true. And so, I fear that customers are saying, oh, yeah, your house will have it dried and the equipment out of here in 3 days. And then when it takes 7, they're like, this isn't what you told me. Well, when you have data that gives you a better understanding of your performance, not the industry standard, but your team's performance. How are you using mitigating the tools that you have to set equipment? How are you tracking moisture readings? How often are you going out to do those things? And how long does it take to get a job dry? It allows you to better communicate to the customer. And at the end of the day, that's who we're servicing. So real-time visibility was the very first thing that I wrote on. I drew a box on a whiteboard and I wrote real-time visibility. That was it. And I said, Dad, I need real-time visibility. And the end recipient of that is the customer. And the whole time you're keeping the people that are feeding you work and revenue happy.
Absolutely. Communication is everything. And that's a place where, if you could have an HVAC person come out to your house, and you probably are getting an automated text from them, where they are, who your driver is, they're on the way, where they are on the map, like everything is completely automated, and all those touch points, that means a lot. So, Jason, anything you wanted to add on the customer service side before I ask one or two more questions?
For me, it was always about the noble mission. Like
Mhm.
I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, okay, I want to do good for God, but also for humanity. And like, how can we do something that has a noble cause? And so when I kind of deduced down the fact that, wait a second, if this tool could get somebody peace of mind sooner, if it could get their house online sooner, if it could get their heirlooms and their personal property protected sooner, if it could lower the cost of the claim for them, I was like, I'm all in. So it was all about, it does kind of go down to that I just say that the poor old homeowner, right? Helping them was super important to me, and I think that we definitely can draw a clear path to that benefit from our product. So for me, it was like I love that part of what we do to help the homeowner.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to ask a more personal question slightly. So, this is an industry full of lots of family-owned businesses. I can think of another tech company, at least one, that has been a father-son duo, and it's not anymore, but it was. So I'm curious what it's been like working together. Any lessons that you want to impart on the industry? Jason, I'm tossing it to you first. I'm tossing it to Dad first. Any lessons you want to impart on the industry of working together?
So I did a LinkedIn post because I'm kind of, I don't know, I never really did a whole bunch on that platform, but I'm really falling in love with the relationships I'm building on there now. But um a few years ago, one of my neighbors said, hey, I just sold my big propane distribution company. I'm a rich guy now. And I said, awesome. He goes, yeah, but you know what? It was a family business, and I got to work with my kids every day, and I got to work with my wife every day. And I did that for 20 years. And he said, he goes, so that my bank account's full, but I'm missing that.
Mm,
And he said, Jason, if you ever get the chance to work with family, um, I absolutely recommend you do it. And so that was always put in the back of my mind. This was many years ago. And so, of course, Austin draws on the whiteboard, his idea. And I was like, okay, this is also a shot to follow that advice. And of course, prayed about it, talked to God. He said, man, this is important. Go be with your son, go be with the family. And build something that could turn into a family business. And so I'll tell you, we have 18 employees, which is a little crazy for such a company. But like
yeah.
to this point, we focused on customer service. Half of our company, we have 7 people dedicated to customer service. We have 7 full-time developers that are handling the R&D and the innovation and the quality of our product. and then we kind of have the mushy part in the middle. And I have my youngest son, my oldest son, my daughter-in-law, and some very, very dear friends that have been lifetime friends of Austin's that are a part of this company. And so we're one big happy family. So I'll tell you so far so good, but I couldn't imagine doing this every day with anybody else.
That's awesome. I love that. That that made me happy too. Okay, because I feel like a lot of times, honestly, in the industry, you hear like, it's really hard working with family, and I'm sure that you've had your moments, but to hear that you were encouraged to work with family, that truly is like opposite of what most people say. So, Austin, what's kind of your take? Any lessons to share?
I mean, no real lessons other than the same thing that we've been preaching this whole time. It's just about communication, and when you're working with family and friends, it's crazy the way God works, because a lot of these people that work with us now, the industries they were in before, it was like they were working the past 10 years for this specific job, and it's so cool. And when you have grace and understanding that we're all what the common goal is and how you're going to get there together, it makes the communication easier. It makes the expectations easier. And, we all have a common goal, and we all want to see this thing succeed, and we want to help the industry. And we haven't really had any major things, right? Me and my dad get into little, like, man, I want to do this. No, I want to do this. All right, well, whatever, and we always figure it out. But no, it's been truly a blessing, and it's been so much fun, and I'm super excited to continue it, and very, very grateful that we haven't had any of the the crazy blowups or anything that you do hear when people work with family, right? So no, it's just been so much fun, and I'm super excited to continue to get to do it.
Perfect. I love it. Okay. One last question for both of you, and I will frame it a little bit different, but compared based on kind of your background. So, Jason, I'll toss it to you first. I actually, right before coming on with you guys, was doing an AI related podcast and talking about kind of what's new. And so, since you're in the technology space, a more general question outside of Complitrac, what should restorers be on the lookout for in the next 12 to 24 months when it comes to kind of technology and AI in general? 24 months is really far out for AI, so maybe the next like 6 to 12 months.
Totally. You listen to Elon and we are at singularity, right? Whatever that means. But like, I think that's a bad thing, but I don't know. So I really love the question about AI because there was big data back in the day, and then you just had structured, and then it was now you were into AI, but really there was automation. You had all of your
Mhm.
as a services. I mean, our company is kind of software as a service, but you had all the PaaSes and SaaSes and IaaSes and all this stuff, and now we're in this AI realm. It's kind of just nonsense, right? It's technology to to enlighten you into action. And for me, I want to rebrand AI into actionable intelligence or
Oh,
action insights or actionable information. Because for me, AI, you can have somebody tell you something you don't know. That's great. That's artificial intelligence, right? It's intelligence you didn't have. It's artificial. It's given to you. You can have somebody do a task for you. That's just task automation. AI can do that
mhm.
for you, make your job a little simpler. But really, at the end of the day, for me, and what I'm trying to focus Complitrac on in particular is what information, what insights, or what intelligence do I need to run my business for an outcome for action. And so I talk about the ROI. Okay. This is you get more revenue. The relationships, you service your customers better, you service your adjusters better, you service the carriers better. Um, your actions of how you run your business. Do I need to train my technicians? Do I need to train my estimators? Do I need to train my coordination staff? How can I improve efficiencies to scale in all of those different areas? To me, AI is really all about actionable intelligence or information. So that's my kind of quick answer, my old paw answer for the podcast out there, but I'll leave it at that.
Actionable insight intelligence. I like it. That makes sense. That's good. Yes. Okay, Austin, for you, I'm curious kind of what trends you're watching in the industry. What's kind of keeping you up at night? What do you think is going to be impacting the industry in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of kind of what he's, and he's been preaching that to me for a couple months now, and I love it because that's essentially what I wanted. I just wanted to have the intelligence given to me that I needed to make decisions around how we were operating our business. But there's so many cool new tools out there and resources that use AI to give you that information, right? And I love the new things that are coming into the industry that are helping people with specific things like Complitrac. I love know-how. What they're doing is really amazing. And then even, my dad was talking about some of these legacy systems and them starting to adopt certain things, and how, Xactimate Pro with Exact AI, that's only going to continue to evolve, and the automation for sketching, how much everything is about operational efficiency, right? And so
Yep.
I think we've had so many tools over the years that are going to continue to become amazing, with your 360 cameras and your automatic sketches and your estimates being 75% written for you based on AI, and you just got to go in and correct and tweak, and that will eventually become 100%, and adjusters will go away, and you'll just be communicating with the computer on whether, right? Like, I don't know that that's where it's going to go. That's kind of where it's headed, I think, as of right now. But like, there's so many great tools and great people that want to create, real positive change in the industry. And I'm seeing restorers finally start to lean into that, right? You see it in the RAA, survey from last year. And I took the one for this year, and I'm excited to see, I'm sure it's going to be even higher. So I think that that AI in restoration space is going to continue to try to do as much as it can, and certain tools are going to be really, really successful in the industry. And I think those tools, like what we're doing, like what know-how's doing, like what some of these other softwares that help automate sketches and populate some of your estimate for you, they're enabling humans to have less error, to be more efficient, to work better together, to collaborate more efficiently. And the end goal there is a decreased cycle time, is a happier customer and a happier carrier. And as the fluctuation of deductibles going up, and premiums going up, and claim volume coming down, and then claims get bigger, and those ebbs and flows are going to continue to change. But at the end of the day, a robot and AI can't go out and set equipment. It can't go out and take moisture readings. It can't go out and rebuild the house. It can't hire a drywall guy to rehang sheetrock and paint and install cabinets. And yes, it can communicate with the customer, but customers are also, I think, going to take a lot longer to adopt being okay with talking to a robot on a phone.
Yes.
When you want to talk to a human. And
Yes.
so giving humans every tool and capability they can to operate as efficiently as they can is going to allow the restoration industry to continue to thrive and grow, because as deductibles and premiums go up and claims come down, you have to operate more efficiently. You have to decrease your overhead, and tools are going to be the main resource for that. And so I think there's some amazing ones out there. I think there's going to continue to be amazing ones that come up, and I'm super excited to see where the industry goes, because it's still such a human based important industry. And I don't think that's ever going to change, because you have to have empathy and understanding, and a lot of restorers, and just a lot of people we talk to, they care about what they do. They got in this to help people. They got in this to work with family, work with their community, and do those different things. And it's really, really awesome to see. And I think that tools are going to continue to enhance that.
Yep. I totally agree. And yeah, people are not, I don't want to talk to a robot when I'm making an unimportant phone call. If I have water in my basement, I really don't want to talk to a robot. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
even though I mean, some of the AI is getting really good and it can advance and get you to the right people. So I guess I won't throw shade because some of it is getting good. But yeah, I totally agree with you. All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it. Congrats on your success and how fast you've grown. I'm really glad that I got to meet you at Interconnect. I'm assuming that I will see you at RAA, and I appreciate you both being here.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll see you at all the conferences through the fun restoration conference circuits.
That's right. It's spring show season, as we call it. Thank you
Yep.
so much.
For more Restoration Today and the latest news, visit our website, cnrmagazine.com, and find the latest episodes of the Restoration Today podcast on your favorite podcasting platform.